Welcome to Old New Borrowed Blue, the Blue Room podcast that looks at the things we love about this thing of ours called Everton. Each episode, I speak to an Evertonian about their favourite former player, favourite current player, player they'd have loved to have seen play at Everton, and their favourite Evertonian or thing about Everton or supporting the club. Old New Borrowed Blue. I'm delighted this week to be joined by Stuart Guy, a long-time Twitter mate who got in touch and said he fancied having a go. Former fireman, I guess he's still a cyclist and a swimmer, and very much a long-suffering toffee like the rest of us. How are you doing?
I'm great, Les. Thanks for having me on. Yeah, all of the above, and then some. Yeah, I've long career in the fire service, and just 2 years I've been retired now, and loving life. Not so
Yeah,
much the football, but loving life.
good stuff. That's it. The football only comes round at the weekend, so you got the whole week to enjoy before all that caper.
Well, I didn't pay any attention to the Euro, so it's been a great summer. We had it, and then the last 3 weeks. Well, let's get into it.
We will. We'll talk about that. We try and steer clear of the current season, but I think yeah, we'll reveal more as the show goes on. Before we get into your choices, though, do you want to tell us a little bit about your first game or the first game you remember, the first game you went to?
Oh, the first game I remember going to was actually over the park at the Tin Mine, and it was a mate's birthday, and his dad thought it'd be a good idea for him to take a couple of mates, and me being the token blue, I went, and I think it was around about 76. We got beat 1-0. Match was going great, really enjoying it. Big stadium, young kid. We were in the main stand right by the cop, down by the corner flag, until a bloody super sub, Fairclough, come on and scored with about 3 or 4 minutes to go.
So,
Yeah, my mate had a great birthday, but it absolutely ruined my next school year, and that's where I think I learned a valuable lesson of never trust the Blues to win away.
yeah, I mean, and the thing is, I guess there, Fairclough probably, as he said just before we started recording, he was like the original super sub. Probably
Yeah,
came on 80 minutes and scored on 87, and that was the game done.
yeah, it was. That was the first match I really remember going to. I mean, I'm terrible at recalling details of matches I've been to, even through the 80s when we're going home and away. But I do remember going to Goodison as a young child, mainly to family dues, not to the football, but to family dues in the old 500 club, upstairs in the main stand, because all the family from around that area. My dad was born on Goodison Road,
Yeah,
choir boy, St. Luke's, so there was that connection. So
amazing.
it's the go-to place for family dues, Goodison, even though there was some Reds in the family, because my dad was the only lad, and he had 5 sisters. So we did well, really, to come out supporting any football team, I think. Um, my main memories of starting to go to the match were probably with my mum and dad in the top balcony in the very early 80s,
Yeah.
and that was a frightening experience. Up the escalator,
Oh,
peering over. Oh, my God. Yeah.
I mean, for anyone who's never been in the top balcony, I would recommend do it before we leave because the view is amazing, but the steepness of that bit of stand is it's
Yeah.
ridiculous.
Well, it wasn't until I went elsewhere because well, it wasn't much footy on the telly, was there?
No.
Unless you wanted to watch Match of the Day, and we know what Blues think about that program. But where you were in the top balcony, you could look down and you could only just about see the touchline.
Yeah.
So it was a couple of years before I realised there was dugouts, there was people down there, a track around the outside. Because looking down over the edge, all you could see was the touchline.
Yeah.
Incredible view.
I remember the first time I went there as well. I was like amazed that there was an escalator in a football stand for some reason. And it's the same one now, isn't it? I don't think
Yeah.
it's ever been changed. It's like the most old rickety escalator. Just on that first game you went to, I'm guessing it was Saturday the 3rd of April 1976.
Yes, it was.
And
I think we went. Sorry, because Crossy there, lad. I think
that's
it
right.
was earlier kickoff because I'm sure it was Grand National Day.
Yeah, it says 11 o'clock
Yeah,
local
yeah,
time. Oh, so that's why it would have been Grand National Day.
yeah. I
Yeah,
think
so
that's what it was.
the Everton lineup was Di Davis, Mick Bernard, Dave Jones, Mick Lyons, Ken McNaught, Mick Buckley, Brian Hamilton, Martin Dobson, Bob Latchford, John Connolly, George Telfer. All names that my dad told me about over the years. This was like his time of like really going to Everton with his mates.
Yeah,
So
not a great team, with the exception of Latchford. Not a great team, but to last for 80 odd minutes, against a Liverpool team who were pretty rampant.
yeah,
Europe in the mid 70s and beyond, you know, and then him. David Fairclough again.
Nightmare.
Unbelievable.
Right. We'll move on to better things then.
Thanks.
So, a few years later, you're picking your favorite old player. So this is the old part of this program is your favorite former player. Surprisingly, I think this is the first time anyone's chosen, but is a very, very solid choice. Who have you gone for?
I've gone for Kevin Ratcliffe. Without doubt, the best Everton captain I've seen. He was a leader on the pitch. I don't think he was necessarily the greatest. He wasn't gifted, but he worked so hard,
He
and
was
he was
rapid as
fast.
well, wasn't he?
He
Yeah.
was rapid. I heard him described, I remember at the time, as the fastest back four player in the country. He was so fast. So if he made a mistake, he could get back and recover. But what a player. And he won everything for the club. 450 odd appearances. Only 2 goals, I think, 2 or 3 goals. But he scored at Anfield.
Yeah.
Which is always a good plus point.
Hell of a goal as well, wasn't it?
Yeah. Yeah. It was a strike from about 20 yards.
Yeah.
It's but for me, he just had everything that a central defender should have, and he marshalled the team through. In my time, the greatest period we had.
Yeah,
we won everything apart from going on to further feature in Europe, which we've discussed in the past.
Yeah.
FA Cup, the League, Cup Winners' Cup, Charity Shield. What a player!
Yeah.
What a player!
Came through the youth team as well.
Yeah.
Started off at left back when he was younger, and then moved to centre half. But yeah, as you say, I think it was his pace that was the standout feature. But he had a bit of a nasty streak as well, didn't he? He didn't like take any shit. He could be horrible. Yeah.
Against Man City. Yeah, he got sent off for headbutting someone. But that was the team, before Dogs of War became a thing. A lot of the players were tough as nails, and him especially. I think because he was from North Wales, from a small town. Was it Mancott or Connors-Key, one of them?
Mancott, yeah.
So probably, a bit handy anyway. But yeah, what a player. If you can watch the old videos and stuff of him playing, superb.
Yeah.
And what I liked about that team at that era was it was so well organised that it didn't matter if you made a mistake because you knew there was another player behind you, or the likes of Ratcliffe could get back and cover. So players would calm down. They played with a bit more freedom, I think.
Yeah.
Different type of game to what it is now, but what a player.
Yeah,
that ball would be an easy choice because one of my favourite players ever, best goalkeeper in the world at the time for many years. But for me, in a blue shirt, Ratcliffe was outstanding.
Yeah, and I think just on that, like that team itself, it's like it is noticeable the way they did look out for each other, and they all had each other's backs, and it in many ways it was a perfect team, wasn't it?
Yeah.
Because they all complemented each other. You had all the partnerships going on around the team, and they would look out for each other. So, it was a hard team. It was a harder game back then.
Yeah.
But it was a very, very hard team, and if they didn't win with skill, they'd probably just bully teams off the park anyway. It was just a perfect setup, really.
Yeah, it was. And that was the time where it was one sub as well.
Yeah, which was usually Alan Harper, wasn't it?
Yeah, Alan Harper, then Morley, Lastly, Kevin Richardson. And what a utility player he was to be able to come in and replace the likes of Ratcliffe or the midfielders. I don't think he ever came on for anyone up front. I don't think he'd do that. But yeah, without a doubt, he was the man for me, Kevin Ratcliffe.
Yeah, and I think just to finish on Ratcliffe, I think one of the most surprising things for me was that Wales team at the time that it never did better.
Huh?
Southall, Van den Houw, Ratcliffe, Rush, Mark Hughes, just that's like 5 of the 11. And you just think even if the rest are like duds, which they probably weren't, I don't know who it was, the other players in the team, but that should have been enough to like have some success, but they never did.
It'd be interesting to see how they get on now with the opening up of group stages.
Yeah.
Or, more opportunities to get to finals and stuff like that. Like you say, they never achieved anything, did they?
No.
At all.
Absolutely mad. But yeah, what a player. Really good choice as well. I think he doesn't seem to get the adoration that some of the others do.
No.
I'm not quite sure why. I don't know if he can come across as a little bit miserable sometimes when he's talking about Everton, but then who doesn't? You know, he's a born blue, did everything for the club. And you can if does seem a bit miserable talking about Everton, you can see why, because it's not nice to see what's happened. And I think when you've been, it's bad enough for us, but I think if you've been a fan and you've been the most successful captain and scaled those heights to see what's happened, it must be hard, mustn't it?
Yeah, he is. I think he's definitely overlooked. Uh,
Yeah.
maybe by the club as well. You don't know what goes on behind closed doors. You only see him very, very infrequently in the main stand, just in front of us, where a couple of ex-players sit now and again. He seems to rotate the seats. Probably once a season you see him there.
Yeah.
He's only local. He's not.
Yeah.
He's not on the other side of the world like the likes of Gary Stevens and stuff like that.
Yeah. Strange. But yeah, really good choice. Also, was he manager of Shrewsbury when they beat us in the cup?
I think he was. I think he managed Chester, maybe Shrewsbury as well. And did he do Wales for a very short time as well?
Yeah. I was looking here. I'm not sure. Yeah, he was manager of yeah, Shrewsbury when he beat us in the FA Cup.
Standard.
Which I think has got to be Everton's worst ever cup defeat, because Shrewsbury got relegated to the conference that season as well.
Yeah. Yeah, it's
Um,
worse than the Tranmere one, wasn't it?
yeah, yeah. I mean, didn't feel it, but on paper, it definitely was.
Yeah. Well, the Tranmere one, because you know Tranmere supporters and stuff like that.
Yeah.
You don't know that many Shrewsbury support. Who was a Shrewsbury town support? Oh, that Joe. I think his family is. Joe Thomas from the Echo.
Oh yeah.
I've heard him talk previously about all his families from around there, and they're
All
all
right.
town supporters. But
Okay.
yeah, if you don't know the supporters, it doesn't tend to grate as much, does it?
No, no. But yeah, we'll move on from that. Anyway, on to more bad news as well, because we're going to look at the your favorite current player at the minute. And again, another old new borrowed blue first. I think we're going to boycott a lot of them, aren't we?
It's very hard. It's very hard to pick a standard. Although I would say, and and Erbunen, I think they're going to be really good.
Yeah.
But on the current showing these last three games, my God, it's yeah, no. Even Pickford, who had probably been an easy choice, for being reliable and everything. He's come back from the Euros, and I don't know what's going on. He
He's
doesn't look as confident. Maybe he needs a longer rest.
Yeah, it feels like this is like the first sort of bad run of form he's really had that I
Yeah.
can remember. He's had the odd blip in a game, or he's had the odd bad game. This is like 3 games now. He's looked less than convincing. Like you said, he's not come back right, has he?
No, for the last 3 or 4 years, he has been absolutely rock solid. But yeah, especially Saturday, because the first half he was coming out for crosses, and the second half, when you needed him,
Mm.
he was getting beat in the 6 yard box by a fella who's 5'7", and you think, come on, do better,
Yeah.
do better. So yeah, picking a current player is really hard, but I'm excited for Ndai and
Let's
Erbunen.
let's talk about them then for a minute. Because I think this is the first time. This is the first one after the transfer window shut, so we have got actual new players in. I think both. Eric Boonham's really surprised me. I think he surprised everyone. Might have even surprised himself. He's already played more minutes this season than the entirety of last season. And I think at the start it was probably out of necessity because Garner was out, but he's been outstanding, hasn't he? He looks to have a bit of everything, drives us forward. And I've noticed when he's got the ball and he's facing our goal, he's turned before anyone can shout turn. And you can't give a midfielder more praise than that at Everton.
But I think what the rest of the team, or a lot of the rest of the team, need to do is get up to speed with him,
Mm.
because if he's playing that well and turning, the other players are still looking for the back pass, or like McNeil crabbing across midfield to hit it back.
Yeah.
Yeah, I think he's excellent. I don't want him to get burnt out though, because he's getting to about 70 minutes at the minute, and he's not
Yeah.
losing the ball, but he's not being as effective as he was.
No.
And that's down to the manager and the subs in it. Make the change. It's dead easy. On Saturday, Garner played on Tuesday night.
Yeah.
Make the change. Fresh legs.
It was the easiest sub in the world, wasn't it, to
Yeah,
make? And
yeah.
inexplicable. And I just done and die as well then. He's I can't really think of the last player who got us up off our seats like he does. I
No,
mean, we spoke before about Richarlison and how good he was, but he was different. He didn't like he wasn't that like electric sort of pace and skill. And I noticed with Ndiaye at the weekend as well. He sticks his foot in, and he won a lot of tackles.
Yeah, yeah. His close control is looking really good. The way he can run around players, he's like a talented. I don't know what to say. He's a talented Peter Beagrie without
Yeah,
frustration. He's getting the ball, he's going past players, but he doesn't need to go right. I'll do it once, check twice, check three. He's doing it straight away, and the evidence so far is it's working
yeah,
because the other players don't know how to cope. Maybe it's the difference of he's played a season or whatever. We've played for Sheffield United, so he's up to speed with English game.
yeah,
But yeah, exciting so far. I can't wait to see him every week, and that's what you want. You want
yeah,
when the other players aren't great, and you go, "Oh God, what are we going for again?" Players like him will make people want to go,
yeah,
and they'll keep people interested. I mean,
yeah.
he didn't look gassed to me on Saturday.
No, he looked like he did look a little bit tired, but no more. He didn't look any more tired than like a few of the others who should have come off, like Eric Boonham and probably McNeil.
Yeah. When the only players who were holding the ball up and keeping possession were Ndiaye and DCL,
Yeah,
and they're the subs he makes for two people who couldn't trap a bag of sand. I couldn't believe it.
yeah.
Yes, make the subs, but make the right ones. He does get a lot of criticism, sometimes well deserved, Dice, for not making subs. He left it too late and made the wrong ones, and that was a critical error.
Yeah, yeah, definitely. We're never getting over this one, are we? This is the worst ever,
Not
isn't
at
it?
all. Not at all.
Yeah,
We got international break now to think about it. But when it was there, and unfortunately, you'll look past how well we played for 80 odd minutes, which was the
that's
best
it.
I've seen us play for
Yeah,
a couple of years, because of the critical error the manager made, and then the players having a brain fart and just not taking responsibility for the jobs. So
yeah,
you can blame Dice, but you can also blame the players. It's joint responsibility.
yeah.
Um, the players will come out and say, well, the usual thing of you need to look in the mirror, the usual Seamus thing, blah, blah, blah. But Dice hasn't done that. He's gone, it's the players.
Yeah, bizarre that, wasn't it?
I
Really,
could smell it, but it didn't do anything, and it's them.
yeah, really, really strange. Not a good look, that is it? When he's
Not
sort
at
of
all.
so far we've had three bad results. He's dug out the fans and the players.
Yeah.
It's not good.
Well, usually only ends one way, but there's nobody there to make that decision, is there?
No, that's
And
it.
he doesn't seem under pressure at all.
Which again in itself is a bad thing.
Well, he's brought other new players in. Why isn't he using them?
Mm.
We've got limited funds. Why isn't he using the new players? They don't have to be better technically than what you've got on the pitch, but it's fresh legs.
Yeah,
And that's what Bournemouth did. 5 pairs of fresh legs.
and that's what the manager gets paid for. That's to make those decisions.
Yeah,
So.
absolutely.
We'll move on so we're going to do this one, the borrowed one. So this is going to be, you give us two, so you give us your favourite loan player for Everton and the one you would have loved to have seen at the Toffees. So another one, the first one you've picked will go for your favourite Everton loan player. Bit of a sliding doors moment. Where could we have been if he'd have come in as our manager? Who knows? It was,
Arteta.
yeah,
Yeah. It was around 2005, wasn't it? We got him on 6-month loan. Got him in. It was a January window.
it was after Gravison left for
Yeah.
weirdly left for Real Madrid, wasn't it?
Yeah, it was just levels above what we had in the team. And I don't really remember him playing at Rangers, because he played at Rangers was 2 or 3 years before that.
Yeah, he did, yeah.
I don't remember him there at all. But I thought, yeah, what a player this is. It's one of them. Sign him now. Sign him. What a player. Unbelievable. And strangely, because towards the end of his Everton career, I was like, yeah, go on. Go on. I didn't think he was putting the maximum effort in. Maybe he was engineering a move,
Yeah.
to Arsenal. But yeah, compared to what we had in the team at the time, we weren't bad players.
Oh no.
I just thought Arteta was outstanding.
Yeah, whether he was on the right or in the middle, he was something else, wasn't he?
Yeah, because we haven't had that many Spanish players with flair who've come into, certainly our team. You'd have others in the Premier League, but it's the first one I'd seen in blue shirt, and he was brilliant. Absolutely sensational.
It was it was sad how it ended, really, wasn't it? I know you said he sort of his performances maybe dropped off a bit, but the way he went, and it all seemed very cynical on that sort of final day move to Arsenal, didn't it? Everton were
Yeah,
skint as usual at the time. Then we got, was it 10.5 million?
yeah. Well, did we? Where's the money?
Well, yeah,
That's the
that's the question, isn't it?
yeah, but it's about for it to happen that late. You do wonder, and it happens every transfer window. What's been going on behind the scenes,
Yeah,
because the club should have said no, nobody's going,
yeah,
nobody's going. And it's awful for the manager because he's already planning the next season. You get into the 11th hour, and all of a sudden one of your star players is out the door. Yes, it was a step up where he was going, without a doubt. Sadly, that's how far we've fallen behind. But yeah, he's one of them players who, when he went, it's like, well, he seems to forget that he ever played for us.
yeah.
He's not the first to be like that.
Yeah, you're right there. It's odd. Maybe because of the
The
stick he
point
got.
where the next couple of times we played at the Emirates, he was kicking lumps out of our players, and you think, oh, these were your teammates. Did you
Yeah,
really not get on? Is that why you wanted to move?
yeah. It wasn't nice at all, was it? The
No.
move and the fact that he did well, and the fact that he's doing well as the manager now sticks in the craw a bit, doesn't it?
Yeah, yeah. If only, like say, sliding doors moment. But those first, I think he played about a dozen games or so in that loan period at the start. What a player!
Yeah,
What a player! And certainly improved the team.
yeah,
Without a doubt.
hundred
And
percent.
what more can you ask from a lone player?
Well, that's it. And I think we did we sign for 2.5 million. I think it was. It
Yeah,
wasn't much, was it?
no,
So I mean, I know it was what? Oh God, getting off it 20 years ago now, basically. But I mean, to sign a player of that much ability for 2.5 million, then
well, I mean, I know he's been bought and permanent, but you look at Endine, you think if you can have the impact he had, you know,
yeah,
happy days,
yeah,
happy days, long may it continue.
100%. And then in sort of the alternative Everton timeline, who's the player you would have loved to have seen play at the Toffees?
Well, obviously, it never happened. Never in a month of Sundays, even when we were, in our pomp in the mid '80s. But if we could have got someone like Roberto Baggio in, what a player! Because it was peak football Italia
Yeah,
time. So every Sunday afternoon, James Richardson on Channel 4, and you watch these players in Italy. Baggio, absolutely standout. 200 odd goals, 450 odd appearances. And he won virtually everything.
yeah.
But what I didn't realise until I looked into it a bit more, he never played outside of Italy.
No, just looking at that, I was just going to say, yeah, he played his entire career in Italy and played for pretty much every big Italian side:
Yeah,
Fiorentina, Juve, AC Milan, and Inter.
yeah,
Mad.
incredible. Because all of the big players moved around Europe a little bit,
Yeah,
but not him. But what a player! What the divine ponytail.
yeah. He's just one of those players. He just had perfect balance, perfect touch, just everything about his game. He's one of those that would glide around the pitch, like
Yeah,
just made it look effortless.
because he wasn't an out and out striker, but he was. I think he sort of, for me, invented the role of the second striker,
Yeah,
playing off the striker. But what a player! And then teams, the Italian teams at the time, were fantastic. World beaters.
yeah. There was the Serie A heyday, wasn't it? Really, when
Yeah,
he was sort of at his peak. So let's look at like what era he might have slotted into. So you said he went from Vincenza to Fiorentina in '85, and he played there from '85 to '90. Could have made a big difference to the team there, couldn't he, as well?
yeah, he could have, but we go back to this thing we've discussed previously. If the management of the club had been stronger and stood up for the club with the European ban came in,
Yeah,
you know, you'd have gone to play like that and take us to the next level.
yeah,
Unfortunately, all them players skipped the country, didn't they? What, we
yeah,
can't play in Europe? We're off.
yeah.
We're getting out of here.
Completely understandable. Like,
Yeah, I think if it had gone in that team, even the '87 team, you know, which had changed slightly, taking that into the start of the Premier League era,
yeah.
we'd have been competing rather than also rounds. I think definitely.
Went to Juventus in 1990. Was there till '95. Imagine seeing him play with Peter Beardsley. I mean, that wasn't much of an Everton team, but Peter Beardsley was something else, wasn't he?
Yeah. Well, because that one player could improve, because I think he had absolutely everything,
Yeah,
in his game. You're attracting better players then, aren't you? Rather than some of the absolute dross that we seem to recruit over that period. Oh my God! You think what have they seen? What's the scouting network seen that they're recruiting some of these players?
Yeah,
Whereas a Baggio, sometimes you only need a marquee signing to lift the whole team and then attract people in. I read online the other day someone saying, is the current manager the issue with enticing players to the club? And you think he might be. You don't know because you don't know what conversations take place. But he might be because, and I'm not in favour of getting a name as a manager. They've got to be able to do the job.
Yeah.
But you'd look at him and look at his tactics and look at his football and you think, not for me, thanks.
Well, yeah, and I suppose that does make it quite mad that a player like Ndai signed, really.
Yeah.
He doesn't really fit the mold, does he? And Lindstrom, I mean, Lindstrom has got the potential here to be this season Danjuma if he doesn't start getting the game soon.
Yeah, well, that's another mad one, wasn't it? Clearly didn't get on with the manager.
Yeah.
Maybe it was his character as well. But yeah, I mean, who else was in for Ndai? Was there anybody else in for him?
I don't know. It does seem odd that we've picked up a player of like that. I mean, he could be one game wonder. He might not be good. But he had a good season in the Championship with Sheffield United. Went to Marseille. I think he struggled, but he was getting played on the left, which obviously we started playing him on the left.
Yeah.
But yeah, you just think to get a player that good and no one else was in for him, it's a bit mad, isn't it? Because he does look outstanding.
Yes. Yeah. I suppose only time will tell, but we've got him. He's ours now. And we've bought him rather than on a loan. Lindstrom would be a funny one, really, because you've got to play him to see what he's like. Surely you've got to play him. And if you can't bring him on when you're 2-0 up at home, well, when can you bring him on?
Yeah.
It seems a bit odd to me.
Yeah. Yeah, we're going to be talking about this game for a long time, aren't we? It's like
Baggio, what he could have brought, as a dream signing. I mean, we did try and buy a couple from Italy, didn't we? And
Ravanelli.
Yeah, I want you to pay me wages. I want you to pay all my tax as well. And
it was the way he turned up with the cast of The Sopranos at the park end. That picture is just incredible, isn't
it? Yeah. Crazy.
But again, though, he was a fantastic player and did really well at Borough. Could have done really well at Everton, to be honest.
Yeah, you never know what went on there.
Yeah,
strange, isn't it?
Yeah. It was a funny time, wasn't it? That little mid-90s period.
Yeah. It's similar to now. There's no direction really. You don't know where the club's going.
Yeah,
you sort of fell into the FA Cup in the mid-90s, got to the final, and then Christ, we won it.
Yeah, it was, wasn't it?
Right, kick on. 12 months on from almost being relegated, you win the FA Cup. Right, push on now. And another 3 years later, we're in the same situation.
Well, the thing with that as well is, which I never really tired of talking about, it's the European ban that never gets spoken about when we finish sixth. And because Tottenham and Wimbledon put scratch sides out in the Intertoto Cup, which for anyone who doesn't know was, oh God, it was like a pre-season UEFA tournament, wasn't it? Where
don't say the Fairs Cup. That would confuse me even more.
Yeah. But I think the winners of the Intertoto Cup qualified for the UEFA Cup, didn't they?
Yeah.
At the time, but it was a pointless tournament, really. It wasn't pointless because you did get European qualification, but no one wanted to play in it because it was quite a few games across pre-season and it was competitive games. So clubs were like, well, this is our pre-season, we don't want to do it. So Wimbledon and Tottenham put out scratch sides, as a lot of clubs did, and UEFA took a European place off England, and who finished in that place?
Unbelievable, yet again, isn't it?
Obviously.
Yeah, Intertoto. It's like it's the equivalent of the Nations League now, isn't it?
Yeah.
Nobody wants to play it. Pointless.
Yeah. But once again,
doesn't count for anything. But you've got to do it.
Yeah, and the Toffees fall foul of it, and it wasn't their fault. Unbelievable. Right, we'll move on to we'll pick the mood up now. So this is the blue part of the show, which is your favourite Evertonian or your favourite thing about Everton. Got a few choices here as well. So if you just want to,
well, I'd have to say my dad because he's the one who introduced me to the game and stuff like that. Being born on Goodison Road, I've mixed feelings about leaving Goodison really because we've got to go.
Yeah,
I understand the logistics and financial side of it. We've got to go, but so many memories because that's where he was born. Family memories there. But for me, looking outside the family, I think the best Evertonians and the best Blues are individuals like Dave Kelly and
Yeah.
stuff like that, because the only skin they've got in the game really is them being Evertonians. There's no financial reward or anything
No.
like that. And people like Dave and all those ones who are involved in keeping Everton in our city and stuff like that, for me, they saved the club from oblivion,
Yeah.
which would have happened if it had gone to Kirby, Destination Kirby.
It does go under the radar a bit now, that doesn't it? Sort of how serious that situation was, because Ken Wright was really, really pushing for it at the time. We had these terrible mock-ups of a ground by a
Oh, horrendous.
Tesco in Kirby. It looked dreadful, but the club were really, really pushing hard for it. Um, and basically, it was just a group of Evertonians wanting to keep Everton in our city, sort of created this pressure group for a bit more transparency about everything, wasn't it? And sort
Yeah,
of, what are the implications of us moving to Kirby now? I went to Barcelona a few years ago, and Espanyol did the same thing. They moved out of I think they were just over the road from the new camp, their old stadium. They moved out of Barcelona city centre to an out of town location. It's a lovely little ground. It's a really nice ground, dead easy to get to, but it's not in Barcelona, and they've been completely overlooked by the sort of behemoth that Barcelona are now. So Barcelona is essentially a one club city now, even though Espanyol are from Barcelona. They're completely written off and forgotten about. That's exactly what would have happened to Everton.
yeah, yeah, without a doubt. Um, the failure to do the King's Dock was a massive blot
Yeah.
on the club. But Destination Kirby was so wrong.
Yeah.
Like you say, the mock-ups where it was shops and then a bit of a stand behind it.
It was dreadful, wasn't it?
It was just,
Yeah, it
and
was
even
so
when they were
bad.
talking about moving to the Best Way site on
On
by
the
where the new
on
police
the tunnel.
headquarters is, yeah, that would have been horrendous. So people like Dave, and especially now, I see him every week when we take stuff to the food bank. Um, he's doing it because he's an Evertonian. You know,
Yeah.
journalists who come up with opinions, yes, they're doing the job, but that's it. They are doing the job when they're reporting on Everton. People like Dave and forgive me, I can't remember the names of some of the others, but those people keep Everton in our city. They're the best Evertonians because they want what's right for the club, for the long term future of the club.
Yeah.
Uh,
And it's quite a lot to stick your head above the parapet, isn't it? Because
oh yeah,
they got a lot of stick at the time.
yeah, yeah,
And you've got to take this flack off a lot of fans who, I don't know, maybe just disagreed with what they were doing, thinking, we need to do this move, but ultimately they were on the right side of it. And yeah, it must be difficult when you are getting stick off your own fans for doing something is the right thing to do.
yeah. And all they wanted, like I said, they just wanted transparency. Just be open about what you're doing, asking the
Yeah.
club, and the likes of Elston, he was just having his strings pulled, wasn't he? But lying to them about, oh well, there's going to be train lines in and out, and there was one train, there was a train every hour. Just so people like Dave. I mean, there's another lad I know who follows Everton absolutely everywhere. He even went to Kenya. When they played, was it the Sport Pacer Cup?
Kariobangi Sharks.
Yeah, he went all the way there. And
Incredible.
people like him, Keith Mulville, absolutely top blues. That's some dedication now, isn't it?
Yeah.
All the way there just to see a football match.
Incredible. Yeah. Especially when sometimes some Saturdays I'm like, can't be asked getting to Goodison.
Yeah. Take some doing, doesn't it? Especially lately. So yeah, like I say, Dave and people like him who are doing it
Yeah.
for the right reasons, publicising what's going on at the club for the right reasons.
Yeah.
And at the end of the day, he is just a supporter, who stood up. Maybe it's his trade union background, probably with Dave, because that's where I first met him. We invited him and Ian Byrne to speak
Oh,
at our
okay. Yeah.
regional union conference about food banks and poverty and stuff like that. Really interesting. And then I got talking to him at the match. So yeah, top blue is our Dave, definitely.
Good stuff. Yeah. Completely agree. And he does the food banks outside the ground every game.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yeah. Shouldn't have to happen, but
It shouldn't.
you
But
know,
this is where we're at. No, brilliant choice. Yeah, top fella. Um, like yourself, thanks for coming on, mate. Appreciate
yeah,
that.
well,
Uh,
enjoyed it.
really good choices. Appreciate you getting in touch and saying you'll come on. Really enjoyed that.
I watched all the previous episodes, and you always finish by saying, if you want to get involved, And it was our Lewis who said, why don't you just drop him a line? Drop Les a line. Bruce says, well, it's okay, I'll do it then. I'll wait till we're playing well and everyone's upbeat. And like I said, when I messaged you, it hasn't happened, has it?
It
Still
hasn't.
waiting.
But it was good time. It's been lovely to have you on. Appreciate you getting in touch. And like we said, then, if you do want to get involved, just give me a shout on Twitter at LesRobert77 or at the Blue Room EFC. That has been Old New Borrowed Blue. Hope you enjoyed it as much as we did. Up to Toffees.